what we asked of her in that moment, not just to be the living embodiment in her DNA of the history and continuity and unity of this country, but to be the figurehead of our entire system, the keystone in the vast arch of the British state, a role that only she could fulfill because in the brilliant and durable bargain of the constitutional monarchy, only she could be trusted to be above any party political or commercial interest and to incarnate impartially the very concept and essence of the nation. Think what we asked of her and think what she gave. She showed the world not just how to reign over a people, she showed the world how to give, how to love, and how to serve. And as we look back at that vast arc of service, its sheer duration is almost impossible to take in. She was the last living person in British public life to have served in uniform in the Second World War. She was the first female member of the royal family in 1,000 years to serve full-time in the armed forces. And that impulse to do her duty carried her right through into her 10th decade to the very moment in Balmoral, as my right honourable friend said, only 3 days ago, when she saw off her 14th Prime Minister and welcomed her 15th. And I can tell you, in that audience...
He's right. I mean, Queen Elizabeth, you could say she was part of the greatest generation. She wasn't quite old enough to... I think she was slightly younger than what we call the greatest generation, but she was... she joined the military. And, she obviously was not deployed into the Second World War, but she was a mechanic, if I recall. And there's a great photo of her, probably about 20 years ago, using a machine gun, I think, while some British Army troops look on. I don't know if you can find that one. If you Google Queen Elizabeth machine gun, it's a great photo. And I think the fact that that story about her as a 14-year-old girl telling, yeah, that's the picture there. Put that one. Look at that. I mean, actually, there's a wider angle shot of that that's even more impressive, if you can find it, showing a little bit more of the background. I think because she, as you heard, I mean, she gave that speech as a 14-year-old to tell other kids not to worry, that everything would be fine in the Second World War when they didn't know it would be fine, when things were tough and they were going to get tougher still. So she lived through that, and the Blitz, and the Battle of Britain, and V-1 and V-2 rockets landing on London. And so she never forgot how bad things could get. She never forgot the importance of the military. And we heard Boris Johnson say that she was not grand. She was not grandiose. Now, it's, I mean, in some ways it's laughable. I mean, she was the queen. Of course, she's grand by nature. But I saw some article in some left-wing website in Canada yesterday that the queen costs $57 million a year. Oh my God, that's a lot of money. My first reaction was actually just $58 million. That's it? Do you think Justin Trudeau is less than $500 million a year? I mean, his jetting around alone, his security, his entourage, his limos alone probably exceed that of the Queen. I mean, she is the actual royalty. And of course, she's cheaper than Trudeau and much cheaper than the President of the United States. And I think one of the purposes of having aristocracy, like true royalty, is to keep politicians slightly more humble. Now, that hasn't worked in the case of Justin Trudeau. Trudeau put out not a eulogy, but a memorial letter, which was passable. It was nowhere near as loving and generous as the one he made for Fidel Castro a few years back. That's his true love. I think the Queen passing is like if a mountain was suddenly gone. If there's a mountain your entire life. I'm 50 years old. The Queen was 96. My entire life was under Queen Elizabeth. 96 years old, that really is like a mountain is there every day. Oh, you wake up, yeah, the mountain's there, everything's going to be fine. The mountain's there, everything's going to be fine. And then the mountain is gone. And you thought, well, I just sort of thought that mountain would be there forever. That mountain was part of the landscape. Yeah, I'm still where I am, but that old reliable piece is missing. And Boris Johnson was praising King Charles. It's still hard to say those words, King Charles III. And hopefully he will rise to the occasion, but I'm not sure if we've seen all of his mum's qualities in him. Certainly not in her grandson, Harry. My hopes are with Prince William. But imagine keeping it together for so long, not giving into the instinct to be a celebrity chaser, not giving into the instinct to be condescending or impatient. You know, there's one more video I'd like to play. It's in my Twitter feed. I don't know if you can find it. It's I don't know who told the story. It's a guy wearing a uniform. I really don't know his name. It was in my Twitter feed from yesterday. Of some American tourists who were, yeah, that's the one there. Can you play that one? It's a great story. Take a listen to this guy. I don't know his name, but I think he was part of the royal household. Anyway, take a listen.
On these picnic sites, you meet nobody. But there was two hikers coming towards us, and the Queen would always stop and say hello. And it was two Americans on a walking holiday. And it was clear from the moment that we first stopped, they hadn't recognised the Queen, which is fine. And the American gentleman was telling the Queen where he came from, where they were going to next, and where they'd been to in Britain. And I could see it coming, and sure enough, he said to Her Majesty, "And where do you live?" And she said, "Well, I live in London, but I've got a holiday home just the other side of the hills." And he said, "Well, how often have you been coming up here?" "Oh," she said, "I've been coming up here ever since I was a little girl, so over 80 years. And you could see the clogs thinking. He said, "Well, if you've been coming up here for 80 years, you must have met the Queen." And as quick as a flash says, "Well, I haven't, but Dick here meets her regularly." So the guy said to me, "Oh, you've met the Queen, what's she like?" And because I was with her a long time and I knew I could pull her leg, I said, "Oh, she can be very cantankerous at times, but she's got a lovely sense of humour." Anyway, the next thing I knew, this guy comes around, put his arm around my shoulder, and before I could see what was happening, he gets his camera, gives it to the Queen, and says, "Can you take a picture of the two of us?" Anyway, we swapped places, and I took a picture of them with the Queen, and we never let on, and we waved goodbye. And then Her Majesty said to me, "I'd love to be a fly on the wall when he shows those photographs to the friends in America, and hopefully someone tells him who I am."
Isn't that a great story? Isn't that a great story? How can you not recognize the Queen? How can you not recognize her? Well, I guess it's possible. I believe that story. "Have you ever met the Queen?" said the man to the Queen. And her answer, "I haven't, but Dick here has." How funny is that? I believe that. You know what? She was a bit of a kidder, and her late husband was just a constant kidder. And of course, he always told politically incorrect jokes that got him into trouble sometimes. You know, to show 96 years of restraint and self-control is hard. How do you handle wealth and power and fame and literally being the personification of a country without it going to your head? I mean, look at how Hunter Biden handled being the son of a senator and a son of a vice president. Look at how Meghan Markle has just, and that her hostage husband, Harry, look at what the fame and celebrity has done to them. It's so gross to see them chase money in Hollywood like that. How do you stand 96 years and not be arrogant and not be condescending, not be mean, not be impatient? That really is remarkable. And I think she truly has been a strength to the United Kingdom and to the Commonwealth.
Oh, hi. That was a clip from our Rebel Daily live stream. It's hosted Monday, Wednesday, and Friday by the big boss man, Ezra Levant, and Tuesdays and Thursdays by me, Sheila Gunn Reid, and my good friend, David Menzies. On the live stream, we talk about the news of the day, we show some videos, and we interact with our viewers at home. We stream at 12 noon Eastern, 10 Mountain. You can find us on YouTube, Rumble, Super U, and Odyssey.